What's up, everyone? Mr. Anime Random here, and we are going to discuss anime crossovers and some interesting combinations of some very unique anime, how they can potentially result and create some new and interesting content with, blending different aspects from each anime together. We are here with a few different people who have been in many of my podcast episodes in the past, starting with Star
What's up, guys?
and James
Hey, hey.
and Nate.
Hey, how's it going?
And of course, we got Ricky,
Hello there.
who is sad. I don't know why, but
He's a sad potato.
I'm not sad.
No, he's okay. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and talk about anime crossovers, and I'm sure in the past, with movies and television shows, and of course with anime or manga or any type of genre or category, whatever you want to talk about, there's always a possibility, or there has been in the past, crossovers of some way, shape, or form. This episode, I feel that if we talk about things that don't quite exist yet and how we are going to predict how those interactions are going to be or how that crossover final production is, then I think this could be a lot of fun. So I'm going to start off with you, James.
Oh,
I want
okay.
you to take two different anime and kind of pop them together and tell me how you're going to go ahead and cross those two different anime together. Cross them over.
Okay. Actually, today I was talking with my friend. We were talking about what if you crossed My Hero Academia and One Punch Man. Because they're superheroes. So potentially, I guess you could have them exist in the same world somehow. They both do superheroes. They both kind of have that energy. So maybe I don't know, some sort of spatial rift is broken, and Saitama wanders into the world of My Hero, and he takes out an enemy, and it's maybe say it's All Might sees him take out this enemy, and he's like, "Oh, you're great. Would you want to come and teach our students, at the school?" And Saitama's like, "I don't really want to, but he takes him up on it, and because he's lost, he doesn't know where he is, and he ends up, teaching the kids, and maybe there's a fight, maybe Deku, All Might pushes Deku to challenge Saitama, and Saitama realizes that he could teach Deku something, maybe. I don't know, something like that.
So what about you? What about you, Ricky? What do you think would be an interesting crossover?
Well, this might be a bit controversial now, but it's two Netflix shows, and the anime is Agoretsuko, and the other show is not an anime, it's BoJack Horseman. And mainly just because they're both Netflix, so it can happen, and because they're both about cute anthropomorphized animals who deal with very adult problems, and I think that would make for a really interesting showcase. All you just need to do to make it work is to somehow get BoJack Horseman to go to Japan.
Okay.
Did I break the rules?
Oh, a little bit. Not too much, but what about if it was just two pure anime? What would you put together?
I think I'd really like to see Azumanga Daioh and Nichio together, just because they have the same vibe. So I think that would work together with both the ensemble of casts. Just work bouncing off each other. Be interested to see. Be hilarious, obviously.
Okay. Now, how about you, Star? What would be an interesting crossover?
For me, I would have to say, obviously Sailor Moon and Magic Knight Ray Earth.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because they're both end up being like these two people or these groups of people who start off ordinary and magically somehow get powers. So I don't know if any of you have seen Magic Knight Ray Earth, but they get teleported into this mysterious land. So how I see the crossover happening is they get teleported again into Crystal Tokyo and meet the Sailor Scouts. And
Okay.
because they don't know whether they're friend or foe, they battle each other. And since they're technically all elements, it'd be like a battle of the elements.
And what about you, Nate? What do you think?
I want to see Goku attack on Titan.
So you want Dragon Ball and Attack on Titan?
Yeah, I want to see Goku fight one of them.
That could be a very unique concept, and
Yeah.
with the power that the Titans have, could be a maybe a long battle, maybe a very short battle. It's tough to
Yeah, I don't
say.
know. Yeah,
It could be anything, honestly.
It could be.
Yeah.
Now, see, for me, I think it would be interesting to take two anime that are completely opposite of each other and try to put those two together. For instance, if you put like I don't know, it's tough a little bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and say if you put like One Piece, which would have, of course, your pirates and your sea life, your ocean life, and then have an anime where it's mostly ground. So something like Soul Eater or Bleach, where
Oh man.
you have
Yeah.
mostly land type anime versus or mixed in with a mostly non but putting those together, I think would be interesting to see, because there might be some times where they do interact, and that's where the crossover would actually happen. And then there's times where they can exist within the same kind of world or universe, but then they're separate. They're kind of apart.
Yeah. I mean, you could also think like honestly, I'm surprised they haven't done something with like the former big three, as it were, with like Bleach, One Piece, and Naruto, doing something like that, where you split them up with different characters and you see like the interactions.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what would be kind of interesting is to see two shock animes merging together just to see what would happen. Kind of like a mix between Mirai Nikki and Higurashi.
Hmm.
Just because, like, there's a lot of killing, there's a lot of death. Or even like if you did Higurashi and Gantz. Or Future
Oh,
Diary and Gantz.
okay. I like the sound of that. So you know what would be another good or interesting crossover? Put Konosuba together with Fairy Tail.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
That could be an interesting combo, because Fairy Tail's that adventure type, and then Konosuba is also that adventure type. So they could definitely blend pretty well
Log
together.
Horizon could also blend in that, right? Sorry.
Do you think if you mixed Pokemon and Monster Musume together, they would get confused and think that the monsters Our Pokemon.
I mean, Ash might.
Yeah. He might be like, another Pokemon. I gotta be a catching all of them because I'm greedy. No, I'm kidding. But no, uh, no, that could work. What about if we took? See, I don't know. Let me ask you guys this: what do you guys think about if there was crossovers, and we're assuming that the trademarks as well as the copywriting as well as the usage is up for grabs, meaning if one company owns the rights to one anime and another company owns the right to another, they actually are collabing together. They are working well together with each other for the anime. So anything is up for grabs. And I mean, we're kind of doing it right now, but let's just make that boundary open, okay? Do you
Okay.
guys think that a crossover anime would do better if the animes have a similar background or a similar theme or a similar plot? Or do you think it would work out better if they are contrasting? And when I say contrasting, I mean like a black and white kind of contrast or a yin and yang kind of I mean completely different from each other. And then putting those two together. So do you think two of the same work out better, or do you think two completely different work out better? So I'll start with you, Nate. What do you think would work out as
I
far as a
think two
crossover
completely
goes?
different.
Okay. What about you, Ricky?
Yeah, I think that's what makes things would. Oh, excuse me. I think that's excuse me. That's what would make things really interesting is seeing something that you'd never think would work in a million years together, somehow making it work and somehow using what makes them different, in their power to make it entertaining.
Okay. And Star, what about you?
Um, Me personally, I think it would be better if it was the same, only because like whether you have um one that's different or not, you're kind of giving one person an advantage and one person a disadvantage. So while it would be interesting, I'd rather see it as the same because they're on the same playing ground, which means their powers are going to match. So I think the fight would last a lot longer and probably extend how many episodes would actually be played out for it.
So you're saying if it's like a fighting type of anime and they're kind of on the same playing field, then it should make it a lot more interesting. Is that what I'm kind of getting from that?
Well, yeah, because that in itself is its own challenge. Because like, if you have one opponent that's really strong, and then you have another opponent that's really strong, and their powers match, they now have to try to figure out, what they can do themselves to improve to just beat the other person. So if you're on the same playing field, it's like fair, I guess.
I
Whereas
gotcha.
like when you had mentioned like, oh well, I'd like to see, One Piece with Bleach because it's sea versus land. Well, you're giving the people on the land a more advantage to the people who are used to the sea.
I mean, if you think about One Piece, they do dock on islands all the time, and they're pretty, good with land. Luffy fights mostly on land anyway because he can't swim, so it's not
Right.
like sea is that big a deal to Luffy.
Right.
Right. I'm just using the elements
I'm just
as
saying.
an
Right.
example.
Now,
Yeah.
James, what do you think?
I mean, I think it depends on the anime. I mean, there's definitely some. I mean, like for me, I mean, everyone has their own dream crossovers. I'm guessing, and sometimes it'll be great. It'd be nice to have crossovers between two shows that are similar, and sometimes it's good to have the difference. But it depends on what the anime is and what the storyline is going to be, and like how much effort they're going to put in to making things work, because you could have a crossover and it could be total garbage, and it could be some of these like dream crossover. I don't know. I think it just depends on all the logistics and how well things work together and what anime, are involved.
That's true. Yeah, for me, I feel that if they did a contrasting mix or a contrasting crossover between two anime, it could change up the scope of how people look at each side or each anime as individuals when they are put together. And if you put them into two kind of similar categories and then mix them, then it could be that they will be their own unique anime as well as blend a little bit better, but it could go either way. It's just more of opinion and how you can perceive a crossover, going one versus another. Plus, the other thing I want to quickly discuss and get your guys' opinion on is what would be then the art style, because we could look at one anime and look at another anime and they have two completely different art styles. So which art style would come
Ghibli
through?
Studios.
What's that?
Ghibli Studios.
Yeah. What would you think, Ricky?
I kind of say if it's something that is fairly different now, I'm just trying to think of the most outlandish thing I can think of.
Ghibli Studios.
Panji and Stocking in School Days. I would
Right.
want to see them both in their own art styles, but visiting each other's, worlds. So, like when the School Days characters go to Danton City, they stand out, and when Panty and Stocking go to School Days place, they stand out. Like that's what I kind of like about that. I like, the clashing and stuff. That's what I find interesting. I'd be a bit disappointed if they had some kind of compromise or something.
And Star, what about you? What do you think?
Come back to me. I'm still thinking of one.
Okay.
What?
Now, how about you, James?
Okay, I totally spaced out. What was the question?
The question was if you have one anime with one art style
Mm-hmm.
and another anime with a completely different art style,
Yeah.
how would the crossover work? Would it be that one anime's art style over trumps or takes over? Or do they try to work both art style? I mean, it's a little bit hard. Like, think about it. If you took how kind of, I'm going to use this very lightly as like, it's more comical with One Piece.
Yeah.
Like, it's more cartoony with One Piece than it is with Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan, they do more kind of details and the shading and it's a completely different art style. It is.
Yeah.
So if you had One Piece and Attack on Titan together, which art style would come through? Because the backgrounds would you can't take both background, like you can't have the background or the scenery be both One Piece and Attack on Titan, because those are two conflicting images.
I mean, I feel like I'm just using that as like an example. I feel like with that you'd have like a more gritty version of the character, like of the One Piece characters, and then when they were battling, you'd kind of toss some of the grittiness away and let them like be a little goofier, but usually they'd just be like they could be darker. I don't know. I feel like it depends too on the anime, and it's not necessarily that the other one trumps it, but like if one show is visiting another universe, then I feel like obviously they should try and take on at least some aspect of the other show.
Right.
I mean, just going off of my head, the only crossover that I really know I can really think of that I thought was really well done was the One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, and Toriko crossover, because the animation it just kind of like it works. They everyone kind of like was in the same kind of like design. They all kind of fit the same design. It was said like it works. They all work in the same kind of universe. Um, so yeah,
So
it just depends.
so now let me ask you this, Star. If we're doing a crossover of different anime, do you think that it is highly important or not as important to consider art styles of each anime when trying to do a crossover, as well as obviously the plot and how they're going to interact with each other?
Well, I definitely think that if an anime crosses over into another one, then whichever one gets crossed over, so like let's say it's an episode of Inuyasha
Okay.
and it gets crossed over with Dragon Ball.
Okay.
If Dragon Ball goes into Inuyasha's world, then I think the art style should change.
So the dominating art style would be Inuyasha, and then the Dragon Ball characters would be the style of Inuyasha. Is that what it would be?
Yeah. So like I
Okay.
don't know. It's kind of similar to like how a lot of these crossovers actually end up happening,
Right.
where the art style gets taken over. So one that I reference a lot because it's actually really popular is Scooby Natural, where Supernatural went into Scooby Doo. So
Oh
like
yeah, I remember that.
obviously live action goes into cartoon, it's going to take on its
Yeah.
art style because it's the dominant
Wizard of
crossover.
Oz.
I mean, that's totally different. That's different though because it's not two competing animation styles. It's like live action to
Well,
cartoon.
I would think that the one that I'm thinking of, which maybe you guys have seen it as well, they did the crossovers, I think, a few times. And they are completely different animation styles.
Are you talking about Jimmy Neutron?
Jimmy Neutron and
Timmy Turner? Yeah.
and Fairly Odd Parents.
That was amazing.
They looked so weird in each other's art styles.
They
But
did.
it's so perfect. It's like
But that's what I mean. Like when they go into each other's worlds, they take on that form of their art style.
Right.
So if like I said before, when it crosses over into something else, it takes on that world's form.
I gotcha. That's definitely a good point. Yeah, that's it's a lot to definitely think about when it comes to crossover anime. I want everybody who is listening in to come up with some very interesting crossovers and how these crossovers might interact and what you guys think of with the art styles and whether or not anime should be very similar or it would be more interesting if they were two completely opposite or polar opposite type of anime. Let us know in the comments below. We want to hear your thoughts. Hit that like button, share with your friends, and hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you can get notified on when new episodes and content comes out. And as always, guys, deuces up.
peace.
All right.
Wait.
Peace, guys. Yeah.
Later.
Bye.